In a small, tranquil village nestled between lush green hills, there lived an old woman named Maya. Her life was simple, yet she radiated a peace and happiness that captivated everyone around her. Despite enduring many hardships, Maya had a warm smile that never seemed to fade. The villagers often wondered how she managed to remain so cheerful, no matter what life threw her way. Maya lived alone in a modest cottage at the edge of the village. She spent her days tending to her garden, feeding birds, and knitting colourful scarves for the children. Her only wealth was a few possessions and a deep well of wisdom she had acquired through years of experience. One day, a young woman named Asha, plagued by dissatisfaction and worry, came to visit Maya. Asha was burdened by the pressures of life. Her job was demanding, her relationships were strained, and she felt trapped in a cycle of anxiety. She had heard of Maya's serenity and hoped to discover the secret to her happiness. When Asha arrived, Maya was sitting on her porch, humming a soft tune while mending a basket. She welcomed Asha with a warm embrace. "What brings you here, my child?" Maya asked, her eyes twinkling. "I don't know how to be happy," Asha admitted, her voice trembling. "No matter what I do, I always feel like something is missing. How do you stay so content even when things go wrong?" Maya chuckled gently and motioned for Asha to sit beside her. "Let me tell you a story," she said. The lesson in the storm. "Many years ago," Maya began, "I was much like you, restless, searching for happiness in all the wrong places. I had a family, a home, and enough to eat, yet I felt incomplete. Then, one year, a terrible storm struck our village. It destroyed my house, my belongings, and even the crops we depended on. I was left with nothing but the clothes on my back. At first I was devastated. I cursed my fate and wept for all I had lost. But as I wandered the village, I noticed something remarkable. Others who had lost just as much or more were helping each other rebuild. They shared their food, gave each other shelter, and found joy in the smallest acts of kindness. One elderly man who had lost his only son to the storm was carving a wooden toy for a child who had been orphaned. I asked him how he could be so giving in his grief. He smiled and said, "Happiness is not in what we have, but in what we give." That was the first lesson I learned. True happiness comes from sharing love, not clinging to possessions. Asha listened intently, her brow furrowed in thought. "But what about when we face loss or pain? How can we be happy then?" Maya nodded knowingly. "That was another lesson the storm taught me," she said. "When I lost my home, I spent days lamenting what I could not change. One evening, as I sat beneath a tree, a bird landed on a branch above me. It sang a beautiful melody, oblivious to the storm's destruction. In that moment, I realized that life would go on, whether I embraced it or resisted it. The bird was content because it lived in the present. It did not mourn the past or fear the future. So, I decided to do the same. I began to rebuild my life, one step at a time. I planted seeds for a new garden, gathered materials to repair my cottage, and helped others in the village with their tasks. Slowly but surely I found joy in the process, even though I had little. That was the second lesson: accept what you cannot change and focus on what you can. Asha sighed, her shoulders relaxing a little. "It sounds so simple, but I still feel overwhelmed by my problems. How do I stop worrying about everything that could go wrong?" Maya smiled and took Asha's hand. "Let me show you something," she said, leading her into the garden. The garden was a riot of colors. Vibrant flowers swayed in the breeze, and ripe fruits hung from the trees. Maya plucked a small orange and handed it to Asha. "Take a bite," Maya said. Asha bit into the orange, and its sweet, tangy juice filled her mouth. She smiled despite herself. "Do you see?" Maya asked. "Happiness is like this orange. It's found in the small, simple moments of life. A kind word, a sunset, the laughter of a child. But to taste it, you must be fully present. If you're too busy worrying about the future or dwelling on the past, you'll miss it entirely." That was the third lesson. Practice gratitude for the present moment, no matter how small it seems. Asha nodded, her heart feeling lighter. "But what if the present is filled with pain? How can I find gratitude in suffering?" Maya's expression grew tender. "Pain is a part of life, my dear, but it is also a teacher. After the storm, I realized that every hardship I faced had shaped me into a stronger, wiser person. Without the losses I endured, I might never have discovered the depth of my resilience or the richness of my spirit. Think of the flowers in this garden. Think of the flowers in this garden. They bloom because they were first buried in the dark soil. They grow because they stretch toward the light, even when the wind and rain try to knock them down. That was the fourth lesson. Embrace pain as an opportunity for growth, and you will find beauty even in the darkest moments." Asha's transformation. Asha stayed with Maya for several hours, absorbing her wisdom and helping her tend the garden. By the time she left, she felt a profound shift within her. She began to notice the small joys she had overlooked, a friendly smile from a stranger, the comforting aroma of her morning tea, the warmth of the sun on her skin. Over time, Asha practiced what Maya had taught her. She volunteered at a local shelter, offering support to those in need. She let go of her regrets and anxieties, focusing instead on the present moment. And when life presented challenges, she reminded herself that they were opportunities to grow. Months later, Asha returned to Maya's cottage, this time with a gift, a scarf she had knitted herself. Maya beamed as she wrapped the scarf around her shoulders. "You've found the secret, haven't you?" Asha nodded, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Yes, I have. Happiness isn't about escaping life's challenges, it's about embracing them with an open heart." And so, the old woman's wisdom continued to spread, teaching others that the key to happiness lies not in the absence of struggles, but in the way we choose to face them.